Anna. Today I have online here on the phone, I have a nurse from Southern California, and she wants to talk about the situation that is ongoing there. And I have been talking about that for the last 2 years. So today, what I want to talk about is the GoFundMe that is being promoted right now in lieu of the book that I am writing, Blacklisted in Scrubs, and that is going to be a memoir since I have been a nurse for over 30 years. And in the book, you'll have a little bit of everything, but extensively, I will speak about my experience as a traveling nurse who have experienced for the most part of those travel years discrimination, blacklisting. And I have opted to get the EEOC involved in many of these occurrences. I just want to say a few words about quoting Dr. King, and it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that states, "An injustice anywhere is a this is a injustice everywhere." And that what does that mean? That means that if you're looking at me and you're saying, "Oh, you something that you did," no, I want to say no. I don't think that should be the right attitude. I'm hoping that I could pull you along with me to show you what the story is about the nurses of color, and it doesn't matter, it's black, brown nurses who have been discriminated extensively based on policies that were created that is hurting the black nurses, the black and brown nurses. Um, Today, I also want to define who the administrators are, and the administrators meaning the management in these hospitals, um, clinics, dialysis center. We want to define it based on what is happening in Southern California, why nurses are being pushed out, like this nurse that I have on the phone today. And so I want to welcome you, Nurse Rube. Um, Tell me about your experience. The audience can hear you, but because you're on the phone, they won't see you. I want you to share your experience with what is going on over there in Southern California. Let's talk about the administrative. Who are the ones in charge over there in these hospitals?
In most of the hospitals here are the Filipino nurses are the ones that are in charge. They may be
Wow.
65, 70, but yet they're still working. And that's fine because they probably know what they're doing. However, the Filipinos monopolizes Southern and Northern California. And you think that they're going to be fair to a black or brown nurse? No, they're not. No, the managers are not. And it is what it is.
Okay,
it's not good.
So you're saying that the people who are in charge of the hiring and the blacklisting or the terminations, retention are who? You said the Filipino nurses?
They're Filipinos.
Oh, okay,
They
okay.
hire because the law, California's law says you have to hire so many black nurses. That's it. The majority of the nurses that are working in the hospitals are the Filipinos.
Okay,
The
so
Filipinos.
so you're saying that the nurses that work along with you, um, they're not administrative. They're just some of your coworkers. Now, how does that work if the nurses working along with you are not administrators, but it's the policies are made by administrators, right? So, how do you think that is being, you know, what is the what how do you think that is being shaped in such a way that the impact of not the administration's not being on the floor of the unit per se, but you have, are you saying that the nurses are all Filipinos too? I guess that's what I'm saying, trying to say.
But the majority of the nurses on the floor are Filipinos.
I guess, yes.
The black and brown nurse get the worst patients, the worst assignment. Mm-hmm. You can see the Filipinos sitting down, relaxing, taking their break, eating their lunch, but the black nurses running up and down the corridor, trying to do what they need to do for their patients.
Which is how it's supposed to be. Yes, it's supposed to be that way. You're there to work.
Supposed to get an even assignment. Not every patient you expect for every patient to be the way they say they are. However, divide the assignment up equally, and they do not do that.
Right.
The black nurse will be running up and down that corridor trying to handle what was assigned to her.
The difficult assignments, right?
Because very difficult.
Right, because in nursing they have what they call acuity, and acuity means that there are some patients who are really the case is very, very intensive that requires that you create the assignment in such a way that you do not give one nurse all intensive cases. And so what you're saying is that you generally have cases that are high acuity. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. While and it's more of the time than any time.
Right.
You will get the worst patients, and the Filipinos are sitting down, taking their lunch break. They can eat. They can look on their phone and watch videos.
So you're saying
up and down the corridor.
Right. So you're saying right. So let's try to point out what you mean by the worst patients. You're not saying no patient is worse, by the way. You're saying that the acuity, the worst acuity, the worst intense.
I want to rephrase that.
Okay, please.
With the worst acuity.
Acuity.
You're correct.
Okay, so the worst acuity or the highest acuity. So you will have a patient with multiple tasks, while the other nurses who are Filipinos, which are mostly hired, because you are not a staff, right? You are a travel nurse or registered nurse.
I work with registry and agency, you may call it. And I am given the patients with the high acuity. I am given patients with one patient with TPN, another patient with TPN, and that is just liquid food for the patient. However, this can be distributed evenly. And it is not, the assignment is not distributed evenly. It's the agency nurse, the black nurse, gets the worst acuity.
Okay.
And I'm putting it that way, and it's difficult.
The most difficult. Okay. So you're saying now you have only worked in the last month 3 days, and so you're saying that in speaking out, is that what is the problem? When you complain, they blacklist you or they get you out so they don't want you to work. Is that what do you think is happening?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
In the last month, I only worked 3 days.
Right.
3 days.
And when you're thinking about the last month, you're thinking about 3 days out of 30 days. So you only work 3% of the time. And let me ask you, what is your credentials? You're an RN.
I'm an RN.
What are your degree?
And I have a master's degree in health education.
Oh,
and
wow.
One nurse had the audacity to ask me, did I know how to take a blood sugar? And I was really offended by that.
Wow. Yeah, you were. You had to be
offended by that. Did I know how to take a blood sugar?
That's gaslighting, by the way, because in actuality, what they're doing is they're actually insulting you. And we're talking about the nurses who work alongside this nurse room here, where she's being discriminated, because that's what it is. It's discrimination. She has not worked in a month. She worked 3 days in the last 30 days. All right. So now let me ask you. I know you said you're a traveling nurse. So are you? Tell me about your housing situation. because everyone requires roof over their head and food to eat. Tell me how you survive with only 3 days a week, a month
I
rather. I'm
survive
sorry, three
because
days a month.
I am with a facility where I have earned points, and the points have been paying for my rent weekly. And I've used up all of my points, and I have like 6 more days left. So either I go out and get employed at like Burlington Coal Factory or somewhere to make money. I have to do something because the hospital is not giving me work.
You're not getting work.
No, I am not getting work.
And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to reiterate the book that I'm starting to write, which will be released in the next in September. So it's the next couple of months. That nurses need your help today. I'd like you to, if you can see the GoFundMe link, it will be in the it will be posted in the description, by the way. If it's not there currently, you can come back. It will be posted later. But we need your help. So tell me about, is there any, hopefully any applications that you are making, applying to places, any new places for work?
Yeah, it is not the hospitals. It's not the hospitals at all. It's regular jobs on the street that I can work because
as a nurse,
the hospitals are awful. They're really awful, and you may think that I am just saying this, and you may say to yourself, "Oh, that's not going to happen to me." If you are Black American, brown American, whichever color you may be, but if you are classified as Black, you're going to go through what I'm going through, and maybe even worse. Maybe even worse.
Yeah.
Maybe even worse. And I'm not the only one who's going through this.
No.
Even the Black doctors. The Black doctors is hitting the Black doctors.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do know that myself. It's hitting the Black doctors. The Filipinos are in control. They control everything.
They control everything nursing in California. They're controlling the board of nursing too, and they're control.
Because it used to be in Sacramento. It used to be some Blacks, white. Now the board is consumed with Filipinos.
Yeah, and to see that the Filipinos, they're a minority too, and they are the ones that are pushing the Black nurses out of the profession or their practice. Now, the board of nurses, many of you don't know that you work a certain amount of hours per year to be, compliant, and also just to make sure that your skills are up to par. But how do you do that when you have administrations or administrations of these hospitals that are preventing nurses from working? They're literally preventing you from working when they blacklist you and gaslight you.
Preventing Black nurses from working. We have to make that clear. We have to make it clear because there are brown nurses. Black. I mean, we're all Black, and they're making it difficult for us. And you can say, "Oh, that's not happening with me. I work in this area, that area. Every area is the same.
Every area,
you are no different.
Yes.
If you look Black, if you're brown, whichever color, you're classified as Black, and they do not want you there."
Yeah, something has to.
They do not want you there.
Yeah, something has to be done, because just yesterday I had a brown nurse call me, a guy, and he was saying he doesn't know what is to do. He was the first person in his family that went to college, and he chose nursing, and he's starting to be pushed out the same way that we're explaining right now. And we're calling on the government to intervene here. I do have the EOC that's investigating some cases that I have complained about. I encourage everyone, like Nurse Rowe, have you made any complaint? Because that's how we are going to defeat this, because discrimination is illegal in America. Have you complained? Because this seems like it's
Yes,
blatant
I have
discrimination.
complained. I have complained with a workman's comp situation that I have going on right now, and that remains to be seen what will happen with that.
And what about the
However,
EEOC? What about the EEOC? Because they're the ones that is charged or tasked to investigate this employment
yes,
discrimination or
I've done
racial
it with the
discrimination.
EEOC.
Okay, great.
And it's very time consuming. And then the nurse will start to think, "Hey, I gotta make money. I have to make money.
Yeah,
I
you
gotta
have to
eat,
earn.
and I
Yeah,
gotta
you have
pay
to
my
earn.
rent. So
Yeah.
what am I gonna do?
Yep.
What do I do? What?
Well, you know what can you do when you have your degrees, you have your experience, right? You're a nurse with
Yes.
many years of experience, and you reach at a point where you had to come public with this. How long have this been happening to you?
4 years. 4 years.
Over the last 4 years. I mean, to see
4 years.
that this nurse is so hurt, and this is painful, and it's painful for all of us. I hate to see that this is happening to one of my own people, and I hate to see that someone who does what she has to do is being discriminated against, and there's where are the entities that's supposed to be intervening here? Why is it that I am on the air with this nurse talking about this? Where are they? You know, the EEOC is aware of this. They are. And I had a meeting with one of the investigators last week, or rather, a couple weeks ago, and they botched my case. Okay. So when you don't have a lawyer, that will happen. One of the things that I am hoping is that this GoFundMe will be productive, will produce the fundings. We're coming to you for help. We need your help. Please go ahead and donate.
I need your help.
Yeah, Ruby needs your help. It is hurtful, it is painful. If you are listening right now and you can make a donation, go ahead and do so now. I did post the link, but I don't know. I think I'm being restricted here from posting this. But if you can, go ahead, share the link. I am going to have the description in the link in the description. If it's not there right now, if it's not showing, it will be there later. Please come back and check on the link, under the description, the link. Tell me, do you know of any other nurse that is or nurses that's experiencing this, Miss Rube?
There's quite a few nurses that are experiencing this. I just found out that I just found out that I was made a do not return at South Bay. And that's another hospital. I don't even know what I did. Wow. But they made me a do not return.
A do not return means that they basically restrict her from coming back to work. And she doesn't know why. And that's one of the problems that I have also brought up to the EEOC, is that they do just get rid of the nurse without the nurse even having a say into the matter. She doesn't know if she did something wrong, but she's been blocked. Have you notified anyone call the
No, I'm
hospital?
Gonna notify the EEOC regarding that. I'm gonna notify
You
them.
will know, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna notify them because this is awful. I'm just finding out. I'm a do not return for what?
And that's probably
I
the
didn't
only
kill
place.
Anybody.
Right. That's the only place you probably were finding a lot more of your assignment work, right?
Yeah.
The one place, the one place. Now, in my opinion, what they're doing is that the agencies through which the nurses often work to go into these hospitals, they're in complicity. They are complicit with what's going on. They are not advocating for the employees. And that's bad. That is bad. They're there to protect themselves, to prevent any reflection on who on calling out the hospital, because they are mindful of the contract that they have with the hospital. But I dare to say that they will also become, if you go to the EOC, the agency will also be a part of it.
And these people are also racist. They're racist.
Mm-hmm.
They're racist to your color and everything.
You
You're
know,
black, you're black. They don't want you there.
yeah, I believe that, if you want to be racist, stay home and be racist, but do not come in the public and be racist. That's how I feel about it. We're not telling anybody that you can't be racist, but when you come into the workplace, it does not belong there. Okay? So, you have the position to hire, to terminate. I know that, but you've got to go by the law. You do not terminate a person and she doesn't know why she's not working, or she has no say, nothing. I mean, this is wrong. This is really unlawful. It is really unlawful. Now, are you able, you're saying in the next 6 days, if you do not get a regular job, you're saying you might become homeless?
I
You
pray
could.
I don't.
You pray, but there's a risk. There is a risk. That's
There's
what
a
you
risk.
call
Yeah, I don't want
high
to even
risk.
think about that.
Yeah,
I'm
that
trying my best to get a
I
job
don't. Yeah,
somewhere.
I am praying to God, and I don't believe you will, because I don't believe that there's anyone out there in America that would see someone possibly becoming homeless. Even she's coming forward and she's sharing this story, that you would hold back from helping. Please, we ask you to subscribe today. uh, Scroll down to the GoFundMe link, which is underneath the description, and donate today. 100% of the GoFundMe will go towards the assistance of any nurse that is in need of help, and also for legal assistance for the cases with the EEOC. I want to thank everyone for stopping by and listening to what we had to say today. And to Miss Rue, Nurse Rube, I pray to God that you will get your
Thank you.
justice. You will be able
Thank
to
you. I
find
pray.
find some additional work until that justice happens. Anyone out there want to send her a message, you can leave that in the comment. We appreciate you so much for subscribing. We appreciate you so much for watching. God bless. Take care.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Nurse Rube.